Hey everybody, this is Don again. It is Friday afternoon. Unusual for me to be here to do a video on Friday afternoon, but things have changed a little bit. My wife had to go to China, kind of an emergency. Her father's not doing too well, so we'll see if he makes it through the next few weeks. She's going to come home at the end of October, so I'm kind of by myself for a little while. And that does not feel great. As a matter of fact, it sucks, because I love that woman and she's great for me. But that's the way it is. I can't possibly say no. So I let her go, and I shouldn't say I let her go. She went, and she had a long flight out to Hong Kong and then to Shanghai. And she's all right. I FaceTime with her a couple of times a day, make sure she's fine. She's doing fine. Her mom is okay. The only question is how her dad's going to do. But I don't want to dwell on unpleasant subjects. That's certainly not what I do on this channel. This is Practical Reality. It's time for episode 38. And I'm in a great mood, actually. And, you know, today I'm going to discuss a subject that I got asked about on LinkedIn. Someone asked me a question and wanted to know how I would apply my plan for personal evolution and or my CPR to the career that you're choosing or pursuing. That is a very good question. I actually hadn't thought of that. I probably should have thought of that. Who knows? I might have thought of that 10 episodes from now, that kind of thing. But that is what I want to discuss today. And you know, that's not the easiest subject in the world, but I have a lot of thoughts on it. And of course, that's a individual decision that you make, whether or not you want to try to apply your personal evolution or your CPR to your career. And I think it's a good idea. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I think I try to do that on a daily basis. But again, the idea here is to apply it to a long-term plan. You can have a daily CPR and have a daily plan for personal evolution, and that you can also have a long-term plan for both. So you have to decide how you're going to sort of integrate, as I talked about in the last video, integrate everything that you're learning into a plan to navigate your career. And that just adds an extra element to the entire plan, which I think is very, very good. Now, my viewpoint has always been that the objective of your personal plan for evolution and your CPR is to have control of the internal environment. And then you can navigate your way through life in a state of 24/7 presence. Now, again, also, we know that that's not easy to do. We know that there are obstacles in your path every single day that can knock you off and trigger you. And of course, the subject of discussion has always been, how long are you going to stay triggered? How long will you allow yourself to stay triggered? Can you achieve enough presence to realize when you have been triggered and then bring yourself back to a state of presence? That's not easy, but that takes a lot of practice, and that can be a lifetime endeavor. And I know people who have achieved the ability to understand when they've been triggered and bring themselves out of it quickly, which is an admirable thing. So, since that has been the objective, to live in a state of 24/7 presence, can you also incorporate an element to include how you're going to bring your presence and CPR to your career? Now, I don't necessarily mean your job every day. I mean a long-term plan for your career. How are you going to incorporate that, a state of presence, into a long-term plan for your career? That also is not an easy thing to do, because there can be a lot of emotional moments at jobs. If you get laid off from a job, that can be a trigger to send you into a state of panic and wonder how you're going to do things and make ends meet and that kind of stuff. But that is probably a good reason to try and have a CPR and a plan for personal evolution applied to your career. So let me first just say that, as usual, I did some research before coming to the park today to do this video. And, you know, what I found, or I should say I was not able to find, a whole lot of information on applying personal evolution to a career. This is a relatively new field, I guess you might say, or a relatively new question. What I did find was ways to project presence in a work situation. Now, that's not that difficult a concept to grasp. You want to inject presence into your work situation by being clear, by communicating well, by projecting confidence. All of that is important, and all of that may contribute to your longevity at a company, to getting promoted at a company, to being respected by your colleagues, which can lead to, recommendations for promotions and that kind of thing. So all of that is quite important. But I don't think that's the way I see the situation or the plan for personal evolution. To me, the control of the internal environment overrides all. And you may say, and you may be very correct in saying, that if you are projecting confidence and being respected by your peers, this kind of thing, that you may have control of your internal environment at work, which is great and which is true. But my point is that I think that there is a sort of an overriding principle here that applies, that's more important than your daily presence at work. So taking the time, for instance, taking the time to reflect and create presence for yourself and visualize, that is not something that you're able to do at work most of the time. At work, you're in the moment, working, busy, interacting with other people, this kind of thing if you're in an office. And that requires you to be attentive to what you're doing at that particular moment. Now, you may be present in that moment, right? If you're not having swirling thoughts about, what you're going to do later on when you get home and, what you got to do, where you got to go when you get out of work, this kind of thing. So if you are present at work, that's a good thing. But what you're not doing at work is cultivating presence and internal control. You may come away from your workday, and it's like in your car when you're driving home, or when you get home and sit down in your recliner or whatever, this kind of thing, and say to yourself, yeah, that was a good day. And I've done that a lot. Yes, I was a good day. Today was busy. I was nice and busy today. I did some good stuff. Great, okay? But do you take the extra step and go beyond that? And I think that's where the plan for personal evolution that can be applied to your career comes in. You have to be able to then take that time to sit and achieve a state of presence and then say, okay, I'm clearing my mind and I am visualizing my future. And I'm sitting here visualizing as if it has already occurred. I'm making a statement of the future as if it is the present. I have that job. I have the raise. I have a fantastic plan to advance, to change jobs, this kind of thing. Removing the fear from those thoughts, aligning your heart and mind. Thinking about changing jobs can be a fearful process. Oh wow, I have to change jobs. What a hassle. Oh man, here we go. It's going to be a wicked, big problem. So that's the whole point. That right there is when you have lost the control of your internal environment because your mind and heart are not aligned. So how are you going to do it? Okay? You have to be able to say, the road is smooth. Here it is. I'm there. I've got what I want. Okay? You have to make the assumption that you have what you want already. And this is not anything different than anything I've said in any other video. The process of visualization and the process of manifestation all is tangled up in the fact that you have to be able to maintain that presence in your mind and have a clear vision of what you want and be able to assume that you already have it. And that's not easy, okay? Because the world, all you are looking at is the world as it is. And if you have the control of your internal environment, you are able to look at the world as it is and say, yes, this is the world as it is, but this, what I have in my mind, is the world as it's going to be, and I have it. And you can feel exactly how you will when you have it right now. That, to me, is the overriding principle, the overriding plan for the personal evolution that you have to apply to the control of your internal environment if you're going to be able to achieve personal evolution when it comes to your career. Okay? Now, what's the percentage of people who say, I hate my job? Okay? Maybe they don't say I hate it, but I don't like my job. I'm dissatisfied with what I'm doing right now, this kind of thing. That percentage is high. I've read as high as like 2/3, something like that. 70% of people say they don't like their job. Okay? They do it for the money, or they do it to go through the motions. Okay? So that makes it even more difficult. If you're going to try to achieve personal evolution and control of your internal environment in a situation that you're dissatisfied with, that makes it more difficult. So that makes it even more necessary when you get home at night to sit down and visualize your better future, okay? But again, if you are achieving this goal of internal control of the environment, of control of the internal environment, and you are able to transcend the circumstances in which you find yourself, then the evolution that you seek is possible. And that's what you really have to remember. When the things seem bleakest, evolution is possible. I was watching a video the other day, a young lady who was standing in a park in some city somewhere, and she was talking about how thoughts are frequencies. And you know, I know this to be true already. I've never doubted this for 1 second. Every thought that you have sends out a frequency. And right now I'm sitting here and I'm trying to be as present as possible while making this video. But you know, there are thoughts in my mind that swirl around. That's why sometimes I hesitate, or I slow down, or I sort of like pause for a minute, because something else comes into my mind while I'm making this video, and it stops me. It stops the flow of my thinking. And you know, I don't really use a script for this video, as you probably can tell. I do this sort of like spur of the moment, you know, off the cuff. And I think that's the best, most organic way to do it, because that's when you know I'm being the most genuine with you, my listener. So I saw this video about this woman sitting in the park in some city. I think it was an American city. And she was talking about how thoughts are frequencies. And every thought you have is a frequency. And every time that you have a thought, you have a manifestation of that thought, whether you realize it or not. So if you're sitting there thinking, I'm stuck in this job, I'm never going to get out, this job is going to suffocate me, I'm going to get an ulcer, whatever, that kind of thing. If you're having those kind of thoughts, then you're manifesting those circumstances. So if you go home at night and you can achieve the ability to have presence just for 15 minutes or so, and then raise your frequency and visualize and align your heart and mind. In other words, you have a vision of a future and it makes you feel great. And you can feel that elation. When you raise your frequency, you can feel it. At least I can, in my chest. I can feel it in my chest and I say, wow, yeah, that feels awesome. I can do it. I can do whatever I want to do. And manifesting, you are manifesting all the time, like I said a couple minutes ago. You are manifesting all the time. So whether you want to or whether you don't want to, that's what's going to happen. You know what I mean? That you are going to be in that state of mind, and you can allow yourself to remain in that state of mind and use the strength of your own mind to overcome the circumstances you find yourself in. It can be done, okay? Now, I have heard many people say that manifestation is effortless. Okay, so what exactly does that mean, all right? you have to take aligned action with whatever your goal is. If you want to find that new job, if you want that raise, if you want to earn the respect of your peers, you have to take aligned action. You can't just sit around and say, yes, I have this, I have that, I have this, without taking some sort of aligned action. The key to the aligned action is to be present in the moment when you do it and to love what you're doing. That, to me, is also one of the bedrock principles of applying personal evolution to your career. Love what you do. If you don't love what you do, if you're stuck in that job and you don't love what you do and you hate it, you're like the 70% of people who hate their job, then yes, then you need to take this into consideration. You need to be aligned in your heart and mind with the action that you take. And when you're sitting there searching for your new job, writing cover letters, whatever, sending out resumes, you can't see it as drudgery. You can't see it as a task that has to be done. You have to see it as something you get to do, something you love doing. The more that you can be in a state of high frequency while you're engaged in activities that are aligned with your goal, the more likely that goal is to manifest more quickly. And then it will feel effortless. It will feel like yes. Because if you love what you're doing, like right now, I'm sitting here making this video in this park by myself, and I'm loving this. And that's why I keep doing this. And you know, I have 18 subscribers? It's not a lot. But do I care about that? No. I care that I'm sitting here right now and I'm pouring my mind and my soul into making this video so that someone out there hears it and benefits from it. And that is the purpose of life. And maybe that's the final point I want to make here, okay? Your purpose is to serve. Your purpose is to find something that fulfills you and that benefits others. So maybe that is the the pedestal upon which you place yourself when you search for a plan for personal evolution that applies to your career. If you can do that, if you can maintain that presence, you can find that love within yourself, you can make it feel effortless, then you're on the path to 24/7 consciousness and presence. And that is a wonderful thing. Now, I think the last point I want to make is something I may have mentioned in other videos, but you know, and I think I did recently, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about it all the time. If you are going to achieve any real change in your mind, in the way that you control your internal environment, then you have to form new neural pathways. Because 95% of the behavior that you exhibit on a daily basis is programmed into your brain from previous experience. That's fact. That cannot be denied. So you are going to face obstacles along the way to your goal, but you have to realize that the effort is worth it. And that effort may not feel effortless, okay? But it shouldn't be a pain in the butt to sit on your bed or in your recliner or on your couch and reflect on how happy you can be, how happy you are in that particular moment. You can bring your self to a state of happiness in any particular moment and then say, yes, here we go. I'm doing it right now. I feel my vibration going up because I'm sitting here making this video for you, my listeners, and my hopeful subscribers in the future. And I feel certain, another reason why I don't get discouraged, because I feel certain that this channel will grow and that I don't care if I'm an influencer, I will be listened to and I will be understood, and some people will take my advice and actually get something out of this. And that's what I want. So this is not my career. This is my hobby. But at the same time, this is something that I truly enjoy. This is effortless. And I want you to take this as an example of how you apply it to your life to find something that you love to do. And I think that will be the major stepping stone that you will achieve. And then after a while, if you apply it the right way and you work hard and you have your heart and mind aligned, then you will have the freedom that you so long sought and the peace that you want in your soul that has seemed so elusive. And that obviously is the goal that everyone wants to achieve, whether you are consider yourself to be spiritual or not. Okay, that freedom and that peace in your soul is something everyone wants. So I would say to you, think about it. Have a plan. Think how you're going to make it work for yourself. And then set it to action. And don't let anybody tell you you're crazy. Don't let anybody tell you it's a waste of time, because it's not. Okay? Forming those new neural pathways in your mind is the key to any real change. And that can only be done by putting in the time to make it happen. Thank you all for listening to this video. This video was a pleasure to make, and I hope everybody gets something out of it. Like, comment, and subscribe. I welcome any engagement that you would like to have. Have a great day. Peace and prosperity to you all.